The relentless rain had carved new channels into the earth for 3 days, swelling the River Oakhaven into a churning, hungry beast. On the morning of the 4th day, as a damp, gray light bled across the sky, a little brown dog named Pebble stepped onto the low wooden footbridge. He moved with a peculiar urgency, his small body tensed, not just against the biting wind, but against a deeper, unseen threat. Nobody in the sleepy river town, tucked away amongst the willows, knew that this small, unassuming animal was about to undertake an act of courage so profound it would become a legend. And what happened next, what they discovered about Pebble, was the very last thing anyone expected. The town of Willow Creek clung to the banks of the Oakhaven, a place where the rhythm of life was set by the river's ebb and flow. Generations had lived and died by its currents, and its moods were etched into the faces of its people. Pebble belonged to Elias Thorne, an old fisherman whose own life had weathered countless storms. Elias was a quiet man, his hands gnarled from nets and oars, and Pebble was his constant, if unassuming, shadow. The dog was hardly a picture of canine prowess. Children often giggled at his stocky frame, his comically large ears that seemed to listen to whispers only he could hear, and his stubby legs that made him more a waddler than a runner. He was a creature of routine, his days marked by the scent of drying fish, the creak of Elias's rocker, and the occasional chase after a particularly bold river rat. But for 3 days, routine had been swallowed by the storm. The rain, a ceaseless drumming on every roof, had transformed Willow Creek. The air hung heavy and cold, thick with the smell of wet earth and ancient wood. The river, usually a gentle hum, roared a deep, guttural song. Most of the townspeople had retreated indoors, seeking the solace of firesides and warm tea, trusting that the familiar world outside would simply wait for the sun to return. The low wooden footbridge, which families crossed daily to reach the bustling market square, seemed solid enough from a distance, a steadfast artery connecting the two halves of their world. But Pebble, with senses far sharper than any human, had caught a faint, unsettling tremor in the air, a scent carried on the wind that spoke of decay and danger. It pulled him from the warmth of Elias's cottage, out into the persistent drizzle, towards the bridge, and a premonition he couldn't shake. The air grew heavier as Pebble approached the bridge, the rain now a relentless curtain, obscuring the familiar landmarks. His small paws made barely a sound on the waterlogged path, his fur already plastered flat against his bony frame. The strange scent grew stronger here, not just of wet wood, but of something rotten beneath it, something giving way. A low growl rumbled in his chest, a sound rarely heard from the usually docile dog. He crept closer, his head low, sniffing at the very edge of the wooden structure. Then he saw it, a dark, jagged gap, a yawning maw where the sturdy planks should have met. The middle section of the bridge, hidden by the relentless sheeting rain, had simply rotted through, its timbers washed loose by the furious river below. From above, to an unsuspecting eye, it still appeared whole, a solid pathway. But one step onto the center, just one, and a person would plunge straight into the Oakhaven's churning, mud-brown current. A wave of primal alarm shot through Pebble. His hackles rose, his tail tucked instinctively. It was too late to go back to Elias, too far to fetch help. And then he heard them, a distant murmur, growing louder with each passing moment. The morning crowd. The market opened early, even in the rain, and the usual procession of bakers, teachers, and fishmongers would soon be here, carrying their wares and their children. They would be walking directly into the trap. Pebble's breath hitched in his small chest. What could he, a tiny, insignificant dog, possibly do against an entire town oblivious to the silent threat? His mind, sharp with instinct, raced. He had to make them see. He had to stop them. Desperation fueled Pebble's small legs. He scampered to the near end of the bridge, bracing himself against the wind. As the first figures emerged from the misty rain, their umbrellas bobbing like dark mushrooms, he began to bark. It was a frantic, high-pitched yelp, unlike his usual playful barks. He lunged at the stout baker, whose hands were laden with warm loaves, then darted to nip gently at the hems of the schoolteacher's long skirt. He barked at old Mrs. Higgins, whose wicker basket was already heavy with market goods. But his warnings were met only with indulgent smiles, soft pats on his wet head. Poor little thing, soaked to the bone, they cooed. Just excited, aren't you, Pebble? They stepped around him, a minor nuisance in the morning's commute, their gazes fixed on the seemingly solid path ahead. No one understood. The crowd swelled behind them, a tide of humanity moving inexorably towards the unseen chasm. Mid-roll, a deep break. The river roared louder now, a hungry sound that seemed to mock Pebble's futility. He felt the vibration of footsteps on the bridge planks, growing closer to the precipice. Time was running out. He had only one desperate, terrifying option left. With a surge of resolve that seemed to contradict his every instinct for self-preservation, Pebble planted his small body directly on the broken center of the bridge, the exact spot no one should stand, the point of no return. He stood trembling, the cold, muddy water a mere few feet beneath his paws, rushing with terrifying force. His ears flattened against his head, his tail was tucked, but he held his ground. He barked and barked, a raw, piercing sound that cut through the drumming rain, blocking the path with everything he had, knowing that if the planks gave way, he would be the first and only one to fall. His desperate eyes darted between the churning water and the approaching, unsuspecting faces. A young woman, no older than 20, paused. She had often seen Pebble with Elias, knew him as a gentle, quiet dog. Now, she saw him shivering, standing guard over nothing, his small body an unmoving barricade in the most dangerous place of all. Something in his frantic, unwavering gaze, in the sheer terror and determination etched onto his face, snagged her attention. She knelt, oblivious to the muddy water soaking her skirt, and truly looked. Beneath his paws, through a widening gap, she saw it, the dark, swirling water rushing where solid wood should have been. Her breath caught in her throat. A gasp escaped her lips, a sound of horror and sudden, stark understanding. "Stop!" she screamed, throwing out her arms, pushing back against the pressing crowd, her voice cracking with the force of her sudden realization. The bridge. It's broken. A ripple of stunned silence spread through the crowd. Pebble's story reminds us that heroism often arrives in the most unexpected forms from the most unassuming creatures. It's a quiet testament to the profound impact one's selfless act can have, proving that compassion truly knows no bounds, no species, no past. If this tale of courage touched your heart, please consider subscribing for more stories of extraordinary moments in ordinary lives. And we'd love to hear from you. What unexpected act of kindness or bravery have you witnessed in your own life?